Cultura Chocolate with Damaris, the owner. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me or for being here.
So tell us just like, we're going to get into it, but tell us just a quick background of Cultura Chocolate and how you got into making chocolate.
I've been making chocolate for about 10 years. I started originally, after graduating from college, I always thought I wanted to end up in the restaurant industry, worked at a few restaurants, mostly as a pastry chef, but just have always loved food, and food has kind of been the way I've connected with my Mexican heritage. So growing up as a child, I'd go down to Mexico, visit family, and like one of my fondest memories was always just like watching my grandmother like cook, going to the markets, and just like super fascinated about like all Mexican food. And chocolate was always one of my favorite things. My grandmother would make champurrado, and just grew up like wanting to learn more about the importance of food and chocolate. I didn't know originally that chocolate was a fruit, and so through traveling in Mexico, I started to learn a lot about how chocolate is even made. About 10 years ago, I bought my own like kind of home size equipment to start playing around with chocolate, and over the last 10 years have grown it into finally being able to open up the shop.
Amazing. And so you've been here in Westwood for about 5 years.
Exactly,
correct?
yeah. So I opened up just about 6 weeks before the pandemic.
Fun.
I know, crazy. Definitely interesting start to opening up the space. But the vision for the space was really to create a space where people could learn more about chocolate. I feel like we do actually make all of our own chocolate, starting from like cacao beans that we import from different parts of Mexico and other parts of Latin America. And so a lot of people don't know the like whole process that goes into making chocolate. So the design of this space was for it to be very educational and open for people to see us actually making chocolate, be able to learn more about the different types of products. Because I also feel like chocolate kind of gets reduced into just like these candy bars. Mm-hmm. And in Mexico, it's predominantly consumed as a beverage. So just really wanted to have a space where people learned more about chocolate and the cultural significance of it in Mexico.
Yeah, and every time I walk in here, somebody's back here making something, pulling something out of it, and it's like fascinating to be able to watch it while also like you just feel like a little transported when you come here. So you're right, it is very educational space, but also very like I've arrived, like I'm home.
I love that, and I love when people come in here and they kind of just like, oh, I like feel like I'm in Mexico, or it reminds me of home, because that's definitely like the environment that we really wanted to create here. Our focus is mostly chocolate, but we also really focus on other indigenous ingredients to Mexico. If you look over like on our shelves over there, we have like really amazing heirloom corn that we source from Mexico as well to make our atoles, or we do our own like nixtamal, make our own tortillas, masa for different projects that we do, different chiles. So just, people come in here and just it reminds them of like, all the amazing food that is, unique to Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cultura, culture, correct? Yeah. You mentioned that, and I love that in the name. Talk about what it means for you to maintain that, because you can see it's very cultural in here, even with what you're wearing today. That's beautiful.
Yeah, I feel like, food and chocolate has always been how I've connected with my culture, and I feel like it's such a important way to show culture, and I feel like the reason why I chose that name was because I wanted people to see our product for more than just like a commodity, just like food, chocolate. There's so much behind it. There's so much history around it, being here in Westwood was also incredibly intentional. Westwood's one of the last neighborhoods that really kind of has a strong like Latino Mexican immigrant experience, and it was really important to be in a community that I felt like I really identified with and connected to, but also present chocolate and like these products that we're creating in a way that isn't just like overly commodified, I guess.
Yeah, I love that. And then when it comes to chocolate in general, right? I mean, there's so many things that you can do with it. And you talked about the education of it or the depth of it. Mm-hmm. Talk about that. Like, there's so many properties to chocolate that we all can benefit from, and the ways that you kind of, incorporate that into what you do and what you present. Talk about that a little.
Yeah, I feel like chocolate kind of gets thought of as just like candy, and I don't ever see it as candy. I also feel like people are just surprised that I don't eat as much chocolate as people think, because I feel like you don't need a lot to like experience it. I feel like most people are used to having candy bars, and we do make like really, I feel like, unique chocolate bars. We also predominantly focus on making a line of like different beverages that incorporate our chocolate, because that is what's really traditional in Mexico and how cacao and chocolate was originally consumed. But like you said, chocolate, cacao itself has so many amazing qualities to it. I mean, it's people who are sensitive to caffeine. It has theobromine, which is like a more mild stimulant that just like kind of gives you this like really kind of mellow but like energy boost still. Like it's not as intense as caffeine. I used to not drink coffee, now I drink coffee, but but I still like chocolate because it does like kind of elevate you and like elevate your mood. But it also I think just like has so much cultural significance in the sense that like in Mexico you kind of always see kind of this duality between like corn and cacao and them coming together, and so just wanting to really honor that in a lot of what we do here in this space.
So talk to us a little, you mentioned Westwood being specifically important, but talk to us a little bit more about your work in the community. Because when I think of Westwood, I do think has become a very tight-knit community, and that's in large part because of you, because of Damaris, because of Cultura Chocolate, because of Hecho in Westwood and Saraí. And so yeah, talk to us about your work in the community and why Westwood is so important.
Like I said, when I opened up the space here, I really it was very intentional. I knew I wanted to have a storefront, but I didn't want to just be anywhere. I wanted to be in a community that I felt represented my culture, and work with community. I mean, like I feel like I'm not your traditional business owner, and community was such a crucial aspect of it. During, like I said, I opened 6 weeks before the pandemic, and right like when the pandemic started, there just wasn't a lot of support for small businesses like myself. And so during the start of the pandemic, I kind of banded together with a lot of the other small businesses in the community to create Hecho in Westwood, which is a collective of small businesses, community partners, individuals, residents here in Westwood who come together and support each other. At the beginning, it was kind of like a resource sharing network. We did like curbside pickups out of my shop and just created like an online platform where we could support each other and share resources with one another. And it's evolved into kind of this, I feel like, cultural preservation movement within Westwood of like everyone really wants to make sure this like neighborhood doesn't go away, right? It doesn't lose its essence, and more importantly, it doesn't lose its people. And so we do that, I feel like, as Hecho in Westwood through a lot of the events that we organize. So coming up, we have our Cinco de Mayo in Westwood. It's going to be our 5th year doing that. We're super excited. I feel like it's, Cinco de Mayo has kind of become this, I don't know if I should say this, but like kind of bastardized holiday where people just, Cinco de Drinko and just like overly commercialized, sponsored by, these big corporations, and just loses like the essence of like what that holiday really means. And for us, it's a big part of specifically like Chicano Mexican American identity and really honoring and showcasing that. And doing it on like a smaller scale. It's not always about like money for everything. I feel like we very much are grassroots in how we approach everything we do, and just really rely on our community coming together to support the events and work that we do here.
Yeah. And you also host like you're kind of a hub for the culture, right? So you have the youth Danza Mexica, and then Maris Teatro. Why can't I think of the name? But yeah, you host a lot of cultural and youth-centered organizations too.
Yeah, so I think one of the things like that when we kind of started really focusing on how do we preserve like the cultural identity here in Westwood, and one of the ways we felt like in order to do that was to really kind of empower the next generation, right? Like make sure that they felt a strong sense of identity and ownership over their own culture. And like I said, when I was younger, I grew up actually on the east side. I went to East High School, but my connection to my heritage was mostly just through traveling to visit my family. I didn't have a strong connection to that here in Denver, and I think what a lot of organizations here are trying to do is make sure that the youth here don't feel like they have to go outside of their community to have that connection. And that's where the Danza Mexica program was born. We're super excited. We just launched our first part of our Hecho en Arte program for Cinco de Mayo, where our instructors are teaching youth activism through printmaking, and their work's going to be showcased at the Cinco de Mayo event. Like you said, we partner with so many other amazing organizations like In Lakesh Denver Arts, amazing organization run by Mariana Lucero, who does like folklorico, mariachi, and like visual arts programming for youth. So just so much intention in this community to make sure that youth have opportunities to connect with and feel really a strong sense of pride in their culture and identity.
Well, I hope you know your community is really proud of you too.
Thank
You guys do incredible work. And we want to hear about some of the stuff that's in front of us,
Yeah,
some
of
of the things that you offer that you really can't get anywhere else.
Yeah, so I think that is one of the things, like, I didn't want to just be like another coffee shop, right? I mean, I love coffee now, and we do offer coffee in a lot of our products, so they definitely know people want like a little caffeine, but that's never been the focus. The focus has been to always honor these indigenous ingredients specifically to Mexico and showcase them in a way that most people haven't had here. So
This is delicious, by the way.
thank you so much. Café de olla. So I feel like it's one of like those really kind of nostalgic coffee drinks that like people are used to. Like literally, café de olla means like coffee from a pot, and I feel like people have memories of like their grandmothers or family members, just having a pot of coffee on the stove that just has like cinnamon and piloncillos, like the typical type of sugar that's used there. So we have our own version of that to, again, like a lot of what we want to do is like kind of evoke that nostalgia that a lot of people who are here miss from like their from their home country in Mexico. So the café de olla is definitely one of our most popular coffee beverages that we offer. Right here, I'm going to skip that one for a second, but we have the two of our atoles, which champurrado, again, is kind of like my original like desire to like get into chocolate. It's like what my grandmother used to make. It's a chocolate atole. It's thickened with corn, and I just have memories of my grandmother like grinding masa on her metate and just mixing it together to make this like really kind of decadent beverage. So it's one of my personal favorites. The mazapan is one of our most popular atoles. It's just, again, kind of nostalgic because there's like those mazapan candies that people grow up eating, and we wanted to create an atole that incorporated that into it. So the flavor was really familiar, but in a atole form. And then, like I said at the beginning, why I started making this chocolate to begin with was to really kind of showcase where cacao comes from, where chocolate comes from. I think often also people just like kind of equate all good chocolate with European chocolate. I'm like, cacao's not even from there. And we source cacao right now from 5 different countries: Mexico, Belize, Guatemala, Haiti, and the Dominican Republic. And actually, we just got a new origin in this last month from Puerto Rico. We haven't we haven't made that chocolate yet, but we're really excited about that. But just really wanting to showcase the diversity of chocolate from those regions. There's so much that goes into the flavor of chocolate. And I think kind of people reduce chocolate to just one flavor as well, but it has the same complexity as coffee, as wine, as so many other products where the environment and the different steps of processing really impact the type of flavors you're going to get from the chocolate and the quality of that chocolate. So we offer like a single origin line of chocolate bars, this is an example of one of our Belize ones. Yeah, it's for people to be able to like learn more about like, there's more to chocolate than just like these sweet and candy bars. And then, yeah, the last one is like the Mexican drinking chocolate, which you're drinking, and just, again, one of our most popular drinks, just, very traditional. A lot of people assume Mexican chocolate has to be spicy, but in Mexico, they don't put chile in there. It's just cinnamon. Like, this is the way it's mostly consumed. But yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, tell everyone where they can find you, how they can follow what you're doing, and where to go to get this stuff.
Yeah. So we are here in the Westwood neighborhood, just off of Federal and Alameda. Our address is 3742 Morrison Road. We're on the Revision campus. And you can follow us on social media at Cultura Chocolate. Also, to just, stay in the loop about all the events that we organize, Echo in Westwood has its own page, Echo in Westwood. And we host all those events just up, like 2 blocks up the street from my shop right now on Perry and Morrison Road. And our next event coming up is the Cinco de Mayo event, happening May 3rd and 4th here in Westwood.
Damaris, thank you so much.
Of course, thank you. Appreciate you both.